Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to my podcast, Don't Get a Therapist Yet. And today, my very special guest is Ousha Demello. So, a warm welcome to you, Ousha. And you have an amazing story. So, I can't wait to hear your wonderful story. So, could you tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself, Ousha?
Thank you, Wendy, for having me on your amazing podcast. And you're right, you don't need a therapist yet. You are your best therapist first. And then when it doesn't work, then you go get help. But thank you for having me and for sharing my story. Like everybody else, I came to an age where it was time to get married. And I looked into everything that ticked in the box at the time. And I thought at the time also that I had made the right decision. I didn't listen to my gut instinct. I just looked at what was, working out. Um, and unfortunately, my marriage didn't work out really as I planned. So throughout the marriage, I was really badly mistreated by my husband and his parents, who crushed me down like I was nothing. I was financially being abused, emotional abuse, mental torture, only because I was not bringing enough money in the house. And at the time, there was a time when I actually lost my job due to the company going through liquidation. And on that day, on my way home, I called my husband because I was so scared to go home to give him the news. And he told me to F off and not to come home because I could not contribute to, the house bills anymore. So there was no point of me even coming. So stood at the train station on my way and I did not know what to do. I did not know. I said, I don't have a home. What should I do? I was so scared and I didn't know what was going to happen to me. And I felt so much pain at the time because all I could hear and I was so scared of what was going to happen. I felt, you know what, I just want my life to end. I thought it'd be best, my pain will go away if I just jumped in front of that train. And there and then, as I waited for the train, I suddenly saw my mom's face, my brother's and my sister's face, all these people who loves me. And I realized that I was going to make that pain go away. I was actually going to pass it on to other people who don't deserve it. So there and then, I made the decision that I was going to face my reality and make a change. And that's about life. People go through different situations. It's about how you look at it. And it's all about, I think the first thing really is to have awareness of what you're going through right now. Maybe it's not domestic violence, maybe it's not emotional abuse, maybe it's something else. Maybe you're being bullied at work, maybe something else is happening to you in your life, and you feel something is wrong. The first to have is to have that awareness that there is something wrong here and things cannot carry on the way it should. And that's what happened to me. And the second thing was to realize and make a decision there and then, because that one decision was going to destroy my life. Maybe I would be underneath the train, maybe I would not be here today, or maybe in the hospital, God knows. But it was all based on that one decision of, not jumping in front of that train and to make a decision to face the reality. Because in the end, pain is temporary. Nothing lasts in this world. Sometimes things come to you to test you. Sometimes it feels like it's the most awful situation and you can't take it. But there's so many other people who are going through 10 times worse, and I can guarantee you that. But you just have to go through and push through. And then, things from worse, things can only get better. If it's things goes good, that's when you have to worry because then you have to make sure you maintain it. But when you're going through hell, like people say, oh, I'm going through hell. Well, get out of the hell. Keep on moving forward so you find your heaven yourself, not staying there and wait for someone to come and rescue you. And that's exactly what I did. I moved forward. I acknowledged that I needed help and things were not right. I did not do anything on my own, but I made decision on my own, and I understood that what I was going through was wrong, and I went to get help from the right people. And I was able to come out of this situation, luckily. And moving forward, I managed to meet my Prince Charming. And to be honest, I think I managed to move forward because I had let go of the baggage. It's like I think in relationship, there's a lot of people who do that mistake of carrying that baggage, carrying that anger, carrying all the memories and want revenge. It is basically every time you do that, you actually have to look back. And it's like you driving. If you keep on driving and you keep on looking back, sooner or later you're going to crash. Or if you're trying to climb that mountain and go high up, but you're carrying luggage with you, you're not going to go as fast and you're going to limit yourself. So that's what I did. I let go. I chose peace. My husband tried to break me into pieces, but I chose to walk in peace. And that's why my book is called Left in Peace, Not Pieces, because I left in peace. I did not go back. I didn't go for revenge. I never played blame game. Just moved on. Just focused on myself. And I heard many things. I heard many lies. I heard so many other things, especially in our kind of community. There's gossip and all of that. I did not get myself involved into anything. I just moved forward. I said, keep on talking, fine. But it was hard. I'm not saying it was easy, but the key is you've got to keep on looking forward. And, the past is the past. Your present is your biggest gift. What can you do right now to make a change that will help your future in a better way? That's all.
It is an amazing story you share, and the fact that you've turned it into a book, which I know is a number one best-selling book
Yeah.
as well, isn't it? So congratulations for that. And I just want to go
Thanks for
back to um, what you said earlier. You made a list of all the criteria that you wanted, and to be clear, actually, what sort of person, what kind of partner you wanted. But you said something interesting. You said something about your gut feeling. So what was that? Was there a little voice inside your head saying, "Hang on, there's something." Did you pick up any red flags before you actually married him at all?
yes. Yes, there was plenty of red flags. And my gut feeling, I'm quite an intuitive person from young age, but I didn't really always use to listen, not understanding how powerful it was. Yeah, I had plenty of red flags. He was so jealous about me going out with my friends. I used to think that this is called caring, this or he loves me. And he would actually, when I used to go on a date with friends, girls, he would actually come with me. He would not leave me alone at all. And he used to give me a phone to use. And I thought, oh, that's nice. But basically, he was controlling all my calls and checking my details because he had access to it. So there was plenty of red flags. I was a bit naive at the time, too innocent. And it's the way I've been brought up. I am we are seven siblings, and I'm the youngest. So I've been pampered. I've been grown up in a bubble of love and protection. I don't know about bad people. I don't know about manipulation. I don't understand it. So he was my first encounter of a bad person. I've been quite lucky in terms of work and everything else that I did. I always encountered and had, association with good people. And he and his family was the first one, and I did not know how to behave, and I did not know how to defend myself. I was confused, but then I thought I let go. And and also it was because of the way I've been brought up. More is caught than taught. No one told me I have to get married at this age, or you can't have a divorce, or do this. But in my family, there's no divorces. Everybody's happily married. You don't date. You just go. You get engaged and you get married at the time. They're quite open-minded, but I did not know that. It's because I've seen my siblings getting engaged and get married. So for me, I thought it was automatic as well. So, oh, people know him already. People know I'm dating him, so I have to get married to him. And I saw myself in a train that's going so fast. And he was pushing me to get married so much. Within 3 months of dating, he wanted to marry me. I did tell him I didn't love him at the time. He said love will come after. So he was really pushy. At the same time, he was in the kind of caring, controlling, caring that I explained. We call it gaslighting and all of that. So I did not know any of it. I wasn't educated in that area of life. And I would like to comment about that actually, because I'm highly educated. I'm very strong academically. And it's only later in the age that I've realized there's two type of education. One that will help you earn a living and one that helps you live your life. And I think I have so many qualifications, but none of them prepared me for life. They prepared me just to get a job and to live like everybody else. And it was only later on that I learned a little bit about mindset, about resilience. I understood how strong I was later. So it took me 10 years of silence and feeling ashamed of my situation, feeling I should not talk about it because people will think that I was stupid. But no, life happens. But a lot of people don't go out of it, don't get out of these kind of situations. So it's later when I went into personal development, I met my amazing mentor, Jesse James. His mentorship, his guidance, I learned public speaking from him. And I realized the struggle that we go through, other people goes through them. And if we don't share our solution to the problem, that's being selfish. And I realize now then that I needed to share my story, and I did it. And that's when I started writing the book. And I felt very powerful, and I felt, oh my God, what was I ashamed of for such a long time? I'm actually quite strong. He should be ashamed of himself, of what he's done. Um, but things happen for a reason, time frame, whatever. I don't regret anything. I think things happen when it's meant to happen, and
Mm.
what's meant to be is meant to be. Your struggle, your problems is an opportunity for you to grow. So if you
Yeah.
see life in that point of view, like we are in business, if there's no problem, no one is going to have a business. So business problems are opportunities, and that's when you see how what you can do to turn it around to serve other people and help yourself.
Absolutely, Sharon. I think, the reason I wanted to have you as a guest on my podcast was because you have got a personal story. Um, and I just go back, I think it's a really important point you made about the way that he sort of charmed you into it, didn't he? You didn't,
Yeah,
your culture was, oh, you just go out with somebody and then you get engaged and get married, and that's what you do. So there's no sort of questioning, or there was no sort of long-term opportunity to really get to know him. He was kind of, charmed you into this sort of relationship. And I think, I don't know if you agree, but one of the things that they do is people, domestic abusers, they start off very charming, don't they? They almost love you too much. They engulf you in all this love and everything like that. And it's all very subtle, isn't it? I mean, did you find that, Usha? Did you feel that he was charming you?
yeah. So he was he was treating me to many things, and it wasn't just about the treats, it's about I thought what he was doing was caring, but it was controlling. And that was different. Especially if someone is just asking, like, you don't even live with this person and he's controlling your time where you are every single, minute in the journey. If you're supposed to be home and he's already questioning you, you have to text him good night. If you don't, you're in trouble. There's so many things that came in the picture, and it was his behavior as well. He was quite aggressive at some point, but again, I thought, man is jealous because they love you, and there was not much problem about money, but there was a little bit, especially when we had to kind of share, like if he had to come pick me up. I never asked him to pick me up, but then he will say, "Oh, shall we share the cost for the, petrol and stuff like that?" I used to think it's a little bit weird, but I didn't mind it, and we're quite open-minded. But on the first month of the wedding, he emptied my bank account. He told me we needed the money for something for like a ceremony and celebration for our to welcome us, sorry, to welcome me in the family, and they had like a ceremony at home in his parents' house. They live 5 minutes away from me, but they were considering the house I'm living in theirs because they used to come in anytime. They had the keys, you know. It was very controlling. He emptied my bank account on the first month, and when I tried to talk about it, he got really angry. So I think when you start a relationship with money problem, especially in an unfair way, I think money is quite a sensitive area, and I feel I speak about money to my husband now, but we are very open about it to help one another, not suck out things from each other, not like that. So it was like that with him. So he would prefer for me to have an empty bank account, but to have an amazing chandelier because family might be coming around. And he would rather, help tell me wipe my tears out and just get dressed because family's coming around. It was all for sure. It was not, it was, and because we had some mutual family as well when we used to to family gathering, I was never left alone. So someone was always there. His sister was always behind me. I was never alone. See, once I got
Mm.
married, I felt like I was in prison.
Wow.
And it felt like it. At the time, I felt it was strange, but I could not figure it out yet. I just knew something was wrong, but I could not figure out until much later when I realized I was about to take my life. Then I realized what I was doing and was what I was going through.
So with the bank account, were you actually allowed to have your own bank account, or did you just have to empty it every month to serve him? I mean, how did that go?
Yeah, so I had my own bank account, but he used to always want to come with me when we are going to the cash point, and he used to check and oh, how much you've got, and then he would say, oh, can we have that this month? So there was always something like that. So he never really left me alone. So if I had to do anything, I would have had to hide, and pretend I'm going to the shop and then pop in the bank or make calls and things like that. So another thing he did was starting to isolate me. So as soon as I got married, I wasn't allowed to call my family. They weren't allowed to come visit me. So it started slowly. Even once there was Mother's Day, and I sent my mom £50, and his mom had a problem with that. So they all started talking about it. Why did I send my mom money and all of that? And I thought, well, it's my money, it's my mom. But at the time, I didn't think it was just, it started slowly, but it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And it felt like everything I do, nothing was going to work. And at the time, I felt like maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe really their standards are too high. But no, they were just control freaks, and no one should be controlling your life. You have to have control of your own life. What you do, it's good to have advice. It's good to have suggestions. It's good, sometimes get people involved to help you out. But if you feel you don't have control to make your own decisions, where you're using your money, what time, what you do, then there's something wrong. I don't think you should be in that relationship, and I've came to understand that clearly now.
Yeah, and I think issue what you're sort of talking about is there's a process, like you say, it starts off fine and lots of love and attention and everything like that, and then like you say, not much time to make the decision. You're into that sort of married culture, and then how you're kind of coerced by you're not there's a separation between you and your family, so he's controlling your environment, so you can't really ask your family or your friends for feedback because that gets controlled as well, and then you're just
Yes.
left alone with his family and those values, and then it sounds as though that becomes internalized. So then you started to think, what's wrong with me? It became
Mhm.
like they haven't got the problem. You kind of, I think that's a very common thing that happens in domestic abuse situations. The victim then starts to sort of blame themselves and think there's something wrong with me. I'm doing something wrong. I'm not fitting. I'm not working hard enough. Did you have lots of those kind of thoughts? Did you
Yes,
notice
and
that?
a lot of thoughts about me, myself, doubting myself, my abilities, all my achievements was kind of, they were talking about me like I was nothing. And you know, this is what they will do. They will manipulate you. Your abuser is always going to manipulate you. And I was told, I remember I had to go for an interview, and he was telling me, no one is going to hire you. You're so ugly. You're so dark. You're this. You're that. And I'm actually much lighter than he is. Maybe he didn't look at the mirror at the time. But he used to say so many things to me that really crushed my confidence, my self-belief. And I started feeling like it wasn't my life anymore. So everything was around him. I had to ask permission to his parents if we needed to buy a sofa in our home. His mum had to come and approve it. So the control culture that they had was family oriented. It was not just him. I think he was mirroring what his parents were doing. And obviously, I did not live with them, but they came into my life, they came into my relationship. They constantly interfered in what I was doing with I did not have freedom with my husband then, without his mum's or his sister's opinion. So it felt like I did not have a husband. I had like multiple people that I had to live with, although I didn't still live in the same house, but they were constantly there. yeah, so there was a time it became so bad. The abuse escalated so much. Um, I had to pretend I was going to the market every time. There was like a market with fresh fruit and veg every Saturday I used to go, and that was my opportunity to speak to one of my best friend. And I started telling him everything. I didn't tell my family anything because I was too scared that things will get worse, family interference, things will get worse for me too. And I didn't want family to, stop arguing and things like that. So my family did notice that I was a bit withdrawn, but no one picked up at the time. And I started talking to my friend, and my friend told me, "This is not acceptable, Usha. Go to the police, go to the police, tell the police what he's doing." Because I wasn't allowed to use the heater. At some point he was not letting me use the washing machine. And one day he was angry because the clothes was outside to dry. We went out and it started raining and it was my fault. So when I went to pick the clothes out, he locked me out in the rain and the cold. And it was winter time. And I had no jumper or anything. And I suffer from backache and things like that because of all the things that was happening. So my friend was telling me, this is not acceptable. You have to go to the police. And I walked on that road and I had to pass by the police station every single time. And I said, no, 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 I can't do that. I can't do that. No, I think things will get better. Maybe I will, I'll just give it time. And one day I walked in the police station and I looked everywhere and I freaked out and I ran away and I went back. And then the next Saturday, I did the same thing again. My friend was telling me, you have to go, we should do it. And I went in and I got scared again and I ran out. And then on the third Saturday, I went in again. The same thing. My friend told me, no, you've got to do it. It's just, you have to do something. This is not normal. And when I went in third time, someone noticed me and did not let me go out. And I sat down and I started talking. And then I said, I don't want no problems. I don't want this to be recorded. I just wanted to be a little bit safe. So I didn't know who to talk to. But obviously, you go to the police, you record anything, they're just going to formalize everything. And I didn't know. But the next day, the police went to visit him while I was at work. And things went from worse to crazy worse. They had the family meeting with me. His mother said he's gonna make me wash her foot and make me drink that water and all these kind of things. So things went from worse, and I had to apologize, said it was a mistake. I'm sorry. But I did tell you that this is how he swears at me, he shouts at me, but no one helped. So I had to go to the police. So if everything became worse and my life became a living hell. Um, he was taking my phone battery off my phone when I was going to work to realize that I don't have battery in my phone. He used to take my bank card from my purse and I did not even know. He made my life a living hell. And one time I think he wanted the plot of revenge because he was so angry that I went to the police. That once he was going out and asked him, where are you going? And I touched his t-shirt. And I said, where are you going? Like that when he was leaving. And he just left. And then half an hour later, the police came to the house and they asked me if I was me, Usha at the time. And then I said, yeah. And I smiled because I kind of knew what was happening. So he went to report me that I was abusive to him. And so I laughed actually when the guy said it. And I think the police did not take long to understand what was going on because they probably are used to this kind of situation. I told them everything. And his dad came running and they were standing there listening to everything that I was saying to the police. Um, from there, things just got worse. And then I thought, you know what? I think things are out of control now and I need to let my family know. So I told my brother and my brother came round and tried to help, with the family meeting and things, but they were so rude and insulting. And then they realized if you're doing this to talking like that when we're around, what do you do to the girl when she's alone? And then they realized the situation was really bad. So we had to get out. It was going to get worse if I'd stayed. That's when I decided to leave. And it was not easy, but nothing is easy, especially for a woman when you get married, you change your surname, your identity. I felt like I lost my identity. And I felt, what's going to happen to my life now. I felt, and I did not bring anything from I left everything. I just took all my belongings of what I had brought in, and I left everything. I did not carry one single thing that was from them. So I actually left in peace. I actually had no baggage with me. And I started everything from scratch. And I think that helped me. It was very difficult at the beginning because he came back manipulating me again, trying to get me back into the house. But I did not go. And luckily I had family around me. But one thing I would say to listeners, if anybody going through this kind of situation, don't hesitate to ask for help. And it's very important, whether you're in business or in this kind of relationship, it's really important to choose who you ask help. So I still do that, and I think I really like that about my way of dealing with problems is I choose very carefully who I talk to. I did talk to solicitors about it. I spoke to only family member who I knew could understand and help me through. Not everybody to gossip and tell me opinions and things like that, because everybody's going to have opinion. They don't necessarily, they will give you advice that's aligned with their belief in marriage. But you have to know for yourself what you want of this situation, what you want to change, and go to the right people and ask. So there's a lot of people who are so close to me. I did not go to them. I never spoke to them until after when everything was sorted. And they always say, "Why did you come to me?" I said, "Well, I was dealing with it." So it's really important that you speak to the right people because you will, if you get the wrong advice, you have to go to people who will help you elevate yourself, understand your situation better.
Absolutely, Usha. And I think the difficulty you're explaining is, they break down who you are, your identity. You felt you didn't have an identity. Your self-esteem was affecting your identity. And then you went to the police, which was incredibly scary, wasn't it, to do that? And then I don't quite know what happened, why they didn't react to it, but they went to see your husband, but they didn't sort of follow through as well. So that made your situation even worse. I mean, what can you say to the listeners as to how to deal with that? Did you regret going to the police, or would things be different now?
At the time, I was very angry with my friend and myself. I was thinking, why did I listen to him? Now things has gone worse. But today I'm very thankful. At the time, I felt it was wrong because I was going through such a hard time. They gave me such a hard time. But I think I'm thankful that they gave me such a hard time that I had to move. It is like it is if things situations are not people are still in bad relationship even when they are unhappy, or there might be some sort of emotional abuse or physical abuse, but people sometimes still stay. And I believe it's because it's not painful enough. I'm kind of grateful that they showed me their true colors, and it was so painful for me that I had to move. And sometimes it happens in life as well when you want to make a change. You make a change when you really can't take it. Why wait until you can't take it? I understand when it comes to marriage, it's different. Especially, I was lucky I didn't have any children. But when you have children, it becomes very complicated. He tried to get me pregnant because he wanted me to get stuck in the relationship. But luckily, I was wise enough to know that I never wanted to have children with him. Um, as soon as there was, midway of about 6 months into the relationship, into the marriage, I knew I should not have kids. I should wait, because I could see how things were getting worse. But yeah, but I know it's complicated. It's not easy. Sometimes it's easier said than done. But things happen for a reason. If it's so painful, you've got to make the move. And to answer your question, yeah, the police did not follow through as well because I had to go. I went to go back because I felt guilty, and they made me feel guilty. And I went and I did say I want to remove my statement. I don't want any actions against him. He's my husband. I'm sure he's going to change. And that's what we do. You take one step forward and two steps back. That's not going to serve you. If you have to make sure that that's why you have to have that awareness and a good decision and know what you want. And no disrespect to anybody who's in a bad relationship right now, but I actually have experience talking to people who are not happy in the marriage, but they keep on talking about it for the like 10 years, 20 years. They're still talking about the same thing. If you want to make a change, you have to make the change because you're not making a change, you're making that choice of the way you want to live your life. I knew I could not carry on. And sorry, Wendy, I really need to share with you that one powerful exercise that I did. And at the time, I did not know that it was so powerful. I just did it. But now I realize this was called a visualization exercise. I remember I could not tolerate it. I just felt like, what am I going to do? What kind of life is this? And I just closed my eyes and I just started to think about my life in this house with this man, with this family, 5 years. What am I going to look like? I realized how sad, how lonely, how angry I was going to be. And I realized maybe I would not even have a life. Maybe I was not even going to be alive. I realized I saw it. It was crystal clear. This is not how I knew. And when I was in that relationship, I looked 20 years older because I was going through so much stress that strangers telling me, "Are you okay? You don't look right." You can see it. And stress is a killer. And I realized I did that exercise and it helped me realize I need to move. I can't do this. This can't happen. I can't stay here anymore. And that's how I made the decision to move when I realized how I was going to look like in another 5 years in this house. I knew this is not the kind of life that I want. I was not happy.
Mm.
I was so scared all the time, coming home to have your key in your hand shaking like this because you don't know what's going to
Yeah.
happen. It was not nice. This is not kind of life you want.
Yeah, and I think that is the experience of people who are in sort of a violent relationship, like the absolute fear every day that they feel and that feeling of entrapment, like you say. And I think you make another point that you just had to almost leave everything, didn't you? I think this is what happens, although it's a tremendous loss and the loss of your house or, the investments you made or, the loss of your home, but you just had to get out, didn't you? Although it might feel a big loss at the time, you just had to prioritize you and get you out that situation. And then, as you've obviously done, you've built up your life since then. But it can be very hard just to leave everything and just go and just you're on your own, aren't you? I mean, that's quite a big step, isn't it?
Yes, and I think it's important for people to learn about their values. I learned this a little bit late in life, although I knew my values, but I did not know what they were properly. And I did not understand how to use the understanding of your values to be able to make decisions. So you really need to understand your values, know what your core values are. I'll just give you an example. So my core value is happiness and peace. Now, when I was in that relationship, I had no peace and I had no happiness. Obviously, there was going to be a friction. So his values and my values did not align. I don't know what his values were. They're just aggressive all the time. Control freaks. That's all I know of him. So I had my core values was being impacted at the time. I did not know these were my core values, but that was making me unhappy and that made me feel like I had no life. Maybe people like, crazy environment. If that's your values, then that's working out of how to make it work for you. But for me, the core values were being impacted so badly, it wasn't even being met for even to 0.5%, so there's no way, no chance that's what's going to work. So understand what your core values are and that will help you. And it doesn't have to align with your partner or your husband. Like, for example, my now husband, he's amazing. His core values are not aligned as much as with mine, but they work together. You understand? So his values are not as mine, but he doesn't affect my core values. He doesn't affect it in a negative way at all. He gives me that peace of mind. So it works. So I think it's really important to understand. It's a powerful thing to understand if you have to make a decision, that's how you make a decision. You understand your core values, you have awareness of where you are, and you see if where you are is aligning with your values, because if it's not aligning, that means something needs to change. And it doesn't mean that you have to leave. It doesn't mean you have to do what other people do. You have to do what will work with you and have a vision of what you want in the future. And I think that will help you.
Mm. Absolutely, and that's a really good point, isn't it? And I suppose you kind of imagined yourself in the future, and it came up with a very sort of dark picture, didn't it? Of even worse than what you had already, and that's a really powerful, powerful image and exercise that people can do. Absolutely, but also a second one you can do is to work out what's the purpose, what's the meaning to your life, what is it that you value in your life, and that can
Hmm.
help to give you a direction as well. So it's really good.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, Usha, that, after having such a difficult relationship and being so frightened and actually escaping, how did you find trust again to actually go into another relationship? Because I think what can happen is people then are very fearful of getting into another relationship and it happening again. Is there anything there that you can help the audience with?
Yes, definitely. So you will carry that fear if you keep on carrying it, and you will see it and you will transfer it to someone else if you still carry it with you. So that's why you have to let go. Letting go is a powerful thing to do. It's easier said than done, I know, but you have to do it. My key was my way. I think I met my husband only because I had found peace in myself. I did get help, but I had to help myself. I knew what I wanted. I did not want revenge. I could have gone into, suing him. I had all the evidence. Because I was so insecure in the relationship. I had recorded, I had my camera on, I hidden because I was so scared. So I had evidence of all of our conversation, abuse from his family as well, of what they told me, things that, a woman should be working 26 hours or 24, not allowed to sit down and things like that. So it was crazy things they were saying. So if I really wanted to do something, I could. I chose. I made a decision. I'm not saying that's going to align with everybody else here. That's what worked for me. I decided to let go. And my intuition was, and I wasn't really never looking for another husband. I just took life as it flew. But I just knew that my peace of mind was so important, and I did everything that I could. And I did things like on materialistic things as well. Like because I was so scared to go to my ex-husband's house all the time, I was so going home was, every day from going to work was my safety zone. So that's why I was so scared when I lost my job, thinking, what am I going to do? So, just thinking the thought of going home was so scary and was so painful. As when I left him, I went extra mile looking for somewhere to live. So I did live with family, I did get help. But later on I decided, what, I want luxury. So I did rent a place in London. It was a beautiful home, and I there was swimming pool, jacuzzi, it was secure gate. It was beautiful place, and it was more than what I could afford, but I did it because I remember I had another job, and I remember sitting. It was 5 o'clock, thinking I was visualizing the jacuzzi. Like I can't wait, and it was winter, and I thought I can't wait to go home. For me to can't wait to go home was such a big deal. So there are things that I did to help myself. Now, people will help you, but people are not going to go to that length to understand what really helps you, what's going to help you feel better. So, and then I was catching up with friends and going out, so there was things that I did for myself, and I chose peace over revenge, and I chose to let go of all my baggage, and I was happy, happy, happy to start all from fresh. Although I could have had probably 100K in my bank account from suing him, I chose not to have it because I knew if I accepted that, I know I would have had to interact with him for another 5 years or whatever years, and that I did not want. So I chose to walk away, and that helped me. And because I had peace within myself, my husband now was able to see me through. And, I think he was attracted to me. I was attracted to him. Is because I did not carry a baggage with me. If I was stressed and angry, he would not be looking at me. He probably would have noticed me. I think your reflection of how you look is a reflection of your mind, of how you behave. And when I met my husband, intuitively, I woke up that morning. I knew I was going to have an amazing day. My instinct was telling me I was dressed up, I was so happy, and I went and I met him. 24, well, we've been together for 12 years.
Oh, Congratulations. That's a
Thank
lovely
you.
story, Isha. And I think you're really emphasizing the point from the distance, the difference between when you felt so low and so vulnerable and so lost to be so brave at that very low point, to be so brave to break free and to do that. But then the key was to really work on yourself, your own personal self, your development and everything like that, to raise yourself up to your self-belief that you
Yes.
want peace and happiness. And when you got to that point, that's the point where you met somebody who is more aligned to your values, like you say, and that's where the real happy positive connection
Yes,
came.
you,
Yeah,
you can't be opening more doors if you don't close one behind you.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people want this, want that, but then what are you doing to let go first? Just move swiftly, understand what you want, and just let go. Letting go, some people you might regret it. There were time when I was financially struggling financially, and I thought, oh, I should have done it, but then what's more important? What's your core value? Peace of mind or money? You understand? So that's how you relate and you know what you're doing to make the right decision.
but if you believe in yourself and you do the self-care and the love, it means your self-confidence grows again, and then you can make the money because you believe in yourself. You'll get a better job or you'll become an entrepreneur or whatever. So that comes afterwards, but it's a belief in yourself that you work on first. And
Yes.
once you've done that, you can sort everything else out as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know how we say we have to do TLC on everything else? You've got to do a TLC on yourself. And I think that's
Very
what I
much
did on
so.
myself. So TLC stands for sorry, TLC is your like I started teaching myself around things that I wanted to learn, teaching myself about life, teaching about, happiness and peace and what I could do. The language that I use for myself, like I said, I was quite ashamed of my story. I stayed quiet about it for 10 years. It would not come naturally for me to say I'm divorced. I would hesitate to say it. So the language that you use, try to speak about it in a positive way, and like don't say, "Oh, this happened to me." No, this happened, but this is what I did. You understand? What did you do?
Yeah.
So language that you use, affirmations and things like that, and see, control your emotions because when your emotions are high, your intelligence is low. And that was exactly what happened to me at the train station where my emotion was so high and I felt I wanted to take my life. But you have to control it. You have to control it because your emotion is going to affect your thoughts is going to affect your behavior, and your behavior is going to affect your actions, and your actions is going to affect your outcome. So you have to have control of your emotion. No one else can do that. People will tell you things, but you have to do the groundwork.
Mm, absolutely. And that's so beautifully put as well, Usha. That's so beautifully put. And and believe that you're worth it to invest in yourself. So in your book, what I mean, you're obviously your stories in your book, but do you actually include sort of processes or things that you do in your book? Tell us more about what's actually in your book.
So my book is purely about my story and how I overcame it. So I share strategies, like I said, like TLC and how to use your time effectively, how to get help and understand when things are going wrong and how to make decisions and things like that. So my book is more tailored in turning your pain into power. And for me personally, turn into my purpose, which is because I wrote my book and it was successful. And I started helping other people share their story in a powerful way as well. And now this has become my purpose. I'm not saying this is permanent because you're always evolving, but for now, I feel fulfilled doing what I do, helping people publish their book, helping people, publish their stories, turn it into a powerful message that will serve and help audiences, and also, to leave a legacy behind. And I know I do mentorship in business and coaching and things like that, but to be able to help people write a book and create their legacy, something that's going to be imprinted in this world forever, and I love it. So yeah, so my book is all about turning your pain into power and purpose. So you can use your own story. And I went in a public speaking course with my mentor, Jason James. Is one of the most amazing public speaker in the world. I believe I don't think there could be anyone better than him. But from that course changed my life, changed everything of how to storytell in terms of, not just to help you um become resilient, to make you stronger, but to also, help you in your business because people work with people. And if people get to know you through your story, you align with better, your product will sell better. And people like I've been invited to your podcast, and it's thanks to this story. So the story that I used to feel that was the worst time of my life actually has turned to be as a tool, something that I'm able to use now to help other people and to help build a business, to leverage, network and things like that. So we use all the problems that we have into an opportunity. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I think your story is so powerful and it speaks to so many people. And I hope people listen to it through this podcast. They feel they've got something not right in their relationship, or they're unhappy, or they're noticing there's control there, or there's financial abuse, or like you say, it wasn't just him, it was a whole family as well, and how entangled that must have been as well, that they can actually buy your book, read your story, really relate to it and think, okay, there is hope out there. I can move forward. I can leave this relationship and I can make a huge difference to my life, but also to other people as well. I think that is a wonderful thing to help more people as well and to share the power of your story, to inspire and help other people in those situations. Yeah, it's a really great message. And so thank you so much for actually being brave enough and strong enough to actually write about your story and to share it. Because I think when people see you, Usha, they think, oh, lovely lady, probably had a very quite nice life, sort of had it easy kind of thing. They don't know your story. It's until they get to know you and your story and realize that there's so much more you've been through. Um,
Yes, and I believe it's the same for so many people out there as well. Everybody has a journey. And you don't have to go through struggle and problems for you to write a book. Sometimes you have, all the success. How did you manage to get things so easy? You share it because that's empowering other people. When you empower other people, you're empowering yourself. And I think people, should be writing books, and I think people should be out, and maybe you're not open to share your story now, but there's ways you can go, get help to help someone help you do it. I certainly would never have done it if I didn't meet Jason James. So, I'm really happy, and I feel lucky that I met the right mentor. So I got things first time right. I didn't have to go through the journey of, trying other people. So I do believe, and I'm really grateful always to him that I got this right to get him as a mentor, as my
yeah,
first mentor.
yeah, but that's great as well, and that's great that he's very passionate about helping other people as well. So that's a really nice respect to him. Excuse me. Excuse me. Respect to him. That's amazing as well. And I know that actually one of your business is to actually you publish other people's books. Is that right?
That's right. So I help other people publish their book, no matter what stage they are. Some people say they've got an idea, always wanted to have a book, and then when they work with me, in 4 months they have a book. That's
Wow.
bestseller, number one bestseller. And then you have other people who started writing, and no matter what stage, I take you to finishing and publishing your book on Amazon and make it a number one bestseller.
Wow, that's an amazing achievement to do that as well. Because again, people are quite vulnerable if they're sharing their story and will it be good enough? And is my writing good enough? And will anybody listen to it or want it? But to have somebody like you as a mentor who's been through that process and know what it's like to sort of build yourself up, that's a very powerful service that you offer people. Because
Yeah.
people do want to write about their stories, and everybody's got a story inside them, they say, and they do want to write about it. So that's really
Yes.
good. Yeah. But I think also your story also isn't just about what happened to you. It's about how that turned around and the power of turning it round to a positive force, isn't it? That's what's really good. So you're sort of retelling your story with a different theme, aren't you? You're telling your story with one from, achievement and empowerment, isn't it? It's not just the
Yeah.
story, it's what you did with the story, that
Yes.
makes it so
So
special.
yeah, in my book, I've used the Simba way. Simba is from The Lion King. Um, and the story came again through when I went to a training, Jason James training. That was my first business training with him, and he was talking about it, and I was looking at him, and I was wowed by what he said, and I actually came home and I watched the film again, because I love that film anyway. But oh my goodness, there's like I think there's about 32 motivational quotes that is life changing. This film, if you listen to all the advice that's given to all the little animals, it's incredibly powerful. And I was so mesmerized by everything because I looked at it in a different light. And then I thought, you know what? This is life cycle. Because Simba was supposed to be the king of the jungle, but life, what happens to us as well? You're born with a purpose, but then life takes you to a different route. You have ch different challenges. You don't know your worth. He didn't know he shouldn't be eating vegetable. So, he hanged out with, a different type of animals. And in the end, life took him back to where he was supposed to be. But life is a journey. And that's why I called it the Simba way, because I felt, I always knew I could do more than what I was doing. I'm not saying I'm doing enough now. I know I should be, because I'm still learning, I'm still growing. There's more we can do, but you should not stop. Because don't say that, oh, there's a problem. That's how life is supposed to be. No, you just keep on moving ahead. And sometimes, people say, oh, I have fear of failure. Well, you have to go through it because that's going to give you a lesson. And that's most of the successful people who are great mentors. They are great mentors because they've already been through the failure. That one made them great mentor. So failure is part of life, is your feedback to life, is your feedback to, your journey, so that you can make things better. So that's why I chose the Simba Way, as the book is the whole chapter is Simba is self-belief, I for impact, M for mindset, B for beliefs, your belief system, and A for the action. At the end of the day, is the actions that you take in your life that's going to determine your outcome. And so I'm very passionate about it, and that's all how it all came. And it all came through just hanging out with the right people, listening to the right people, and using everything you come across of how you can leverage it and use it in a beautiful way.
Absolutely. And to have got to that point where you didn't want to live anymore, Usha, to reach that level of absolute despair, it's such a deep thing that so many people out there might be thinking, what's the point? I can't get out of this. It's too overwhelming. I love your story that you saw people that you knew loved you and cared about you, and it's that one sort of decision point, that pivot point that took you down that path, is so powerful, isn't it? That you went to that depth of despair that you didn't think your
Yes.
life was worth living anymore. And look at you now. Look at how much you've changed things round to
Yeah.
be
Thank
such a help and a light and inspiration to other people.
Yeah. I wanted to share, like, for Christmas, I think it was last year or year before actually. For Christmas, I gave my daughter has got 10 TAs. So I had like a little bag for everyone with little gifts, and I had plenty of books. So I put my books in there. And one of the TA, actually, in January, when we went back to school, ran to me and hugged me and she said, I've read your book. Oh my God. And then she said to me, her sister went through the same journey as me, but she took her life. So there's so many people out there that, doesn't get through to their situation. And it's nice that you've actually, reminded us of it as well, because when you go away, it's not your life that's impacted, it's the people that you leave behind. And when I was about to take my life, I had not spoken out, so no one knew what I was going through apart from my friend. So people would have, thought, how much I'm the youngest, I'm the baby of the family. I know that would have really, really, disturbed a lot of people, and not in a good way at all. So that impact wasn't. shortcut that I was going to take was not of any help for anybody. So sometimes life is tough. You feel like you really can't take it. But I promise you, if you just go for it, you're going to come out of the other side much stronger. Now, if any man is listening, who goes to the gym, sometimes you're carrying your weight and you're working out. Sometimes it's so painful, you just want to give up. But when you don't, that's when you're building those muscles.
Mm,
You're getting stronger. And it's the same for us women. You become mentally stronger. You will know your worth, and you will shine brighter on the other side. This is just a phase. You're just passing through hell to see what life is like in hell. But doesn't mean you're going to stay there. If you stop walking, of course you are, but you have to keep on moving forward. And that's the key, is just to keep on moving forward, whether you're in business, whether you're in a relationship, do the little things that will help, even though it's just a little thing every day.
mm. Absolutely, and it's a very good point. Actually, just that sometimes if you can't cope with such a big move and the absolute decision to leave is too big and everything like that, it's a really good point. You can still do work on yourself and do those small things to actually build yourself up and believe that you are enough, you are important enough, and you deserve better. Sometimes it's those little things that you do every day just to build up your self-esteem so that you have enough strength and belief that you can survive without this relationship. Um,
Yes.
and you just said such an amazing story, Usha. Thank you so much. And I just want to end by asking how, if people want to get hold of your book or they actually want to be mentored by you, what's the name of your book? How do they get hold of it? And how do they contact you?
So my name is Ousha Demello, Ousha, and then Demello is Demello. It's written there on the screen. If you type this on Amazon, you should see my book, Left in Peace, Not Pieces, if you want to purchase it. If you want to work with me, my website is Ousha, Ousha, um, usha.co.uk. Yeah, I think is it. Yeah, usha.co.uk. And or you could book a Calendly link with me. So there should be a link somewhere there in my website or on my website, or maybe with Wendy if you don't mind sharing it. You can just book a one-to-one with me, and I promise you it's not going to be a sales call. It's going to be just a strategy call where I will be able to help you leverage your story and help you perhaps give you guidance of what you can do next and give you that push and a couple of steps ahead for you to know what you need to do, because uh, getting started is the hardest bit. Once
Mm,
you get started, I think you will have the flow, you will have the momentum, and you will get things done. So whether it's to use your knowledge and your story into a book or into a business or into a content that will pay you.
mm. It sounds fantastic. And those details will be in the show notes as well, so people can actually go back and look those notes up as well. So yes, but yes, just Google your name and hope your business will come up. That's absolutely brilliant. So Usha, thank you so much for being such an amazing guest and being brave enough to share a very, very deep story, a very painful story, but to end on such an amazing note about how you turned it around and helping so many people to share their stories. So thank you so much, Usha.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you so much. And thank you for all listeners for listening today.
Yes, thank you.